Welcome to the ultimate crowdsourced personal finance show. This is your Friday Roundup.
You're listening to Choose FI Radio. The blueprint for financial independence lives here. If you're looking to unlock the secrets to financial independence and early retirement, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and join a community of like-minded people who are getting off the hamster wheel and taking control of their lives in the pursuit of financial independence. Choose FI, your home for financial independence online.
All right, guys, congratulations. You have made it to the weekend, and this is your Friday Roundup. For those of you that are listening to the podcast for the first time, my name's Jonathan, and my co-host name is Brad. Together, we host a twice-a-week show on Mondays and Fridays. Monday, we talk about a new concept or idea, and on Friday, we actually get a chance to deep dive into that episode and to present our takeaways and also bring in some feedback from our community. It also gives us a way just to interact with our community on a week-to-week basis. So this past week, we actually featured an episode with Barney the Escape Artist and Alan Donegan from Pop-Up Business School out of the UK. And we really tailored this episode to be one to feature their respective stories pursuing FI in the UK. But the extension of that was to offer some of the nuances to this UK path to FI. What Brad and I have found over the past 8 to 12 months is that there's this overwhelming desire to access this information, not just in the United States. We've been aware of how powerful this concept is for some time now, but what we've been seeing is that you're starting to see this spark light in other countries, in the UK, in Australia, in Canada, in Norway. It's really amazing. And what we hope to do with this episode was to some degree just begin to bridge that gap and help people that are fascinated by this concept find the influencers in their own unique geographic location that can give them the specific information that really highlights the nuances of their own social structure and the nuances of their own specific tax code, which obviously varies from country to country. So just an absolutely wonderful episode, and very excited to get a chance to talk about it a little bit further today. And to help me with this, I have my co-host Brad here with me today. How you doing, buddy?
Jonathan, I am doing great. I'm really doing well. And this is our first time recording in a couple weeks, which is interesting because you've been in South Africa and you actually just landed a few hours ago, and we are here recording. It's it's Thursday at noon, and this thing is going live in about 13 hours here, which is a little abbreviated. So this is fun. Welcome home. How was the trip?
The trip was amazing. It's one of those where I think just by the time that I was getting to the end of this 2-week vacation, this family vacation, I suddenly started to get the hang of it because I've been so down in the weeds working on both Choose FI and producing the content that we present here, every Monday and Friday, but also preparing for FinCon and for the various events that we had leading up to that it was hard for me just to almost take a second and breathe and enjoy family. And it actually took a few days just to decompress, unwind, and actually get a chance to just breathe, right?
Nice. Yeah, I totally hear you. And I'm curious, like I'm always kind of joking on you about, how often you're checking your phone or checking Facebook or whatever. Like, were you able to put the phone down? Like how did that work? Like, obviously I wouldn't go so far as to say like you're addicted, but I mean, like on some level there is a psychological aspect of checking those things, right? Like, did you find that it was hard to put it down if you did in fact put the phone or the computer down?
I found it was very easy when I didn't have internet signal. But unfortunately, I have Project Fi, which is an MVNO. It's a cell phone service that's actually provided by Google. And I love them. I've talked about them in a previous episode. I believe that was episode 20. But what I found out is that Google actually has service in Johannesburg. So in many parts of South Africa, I had full coverage. I could make both calls and use data on my current rates here in the States, which really was shocking to me. So I did struggle with it. I continue to struggle with it. There are things, I think you need to grade yourself at the end of the year and kind of evaluate where have you really shown some significant strengths and where do you need to shore up your weaknesses. And it continues to be a battle for me. I think that it was one of those things that I got progressively better. I was still riding the heights of the FinCon that we just come down off of. And there were so many different things to follow up on, new contacts that we had made, just wonderful interactions that we had that we wanted to continue that dialogue. Honestly, it was very difficult for me for about the first 5 days, which is really sad, to slowly just extract myself from that and say, you know what, you're here with family. But I got progressively better at it.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I know you came back super enthused, and as probably nobody out there would be surprised that Jonathan is coming back with enthusiasm. But man, if I flew for 20 hours, I would be exhausted. And like, here I am, Brad, I'm sitting here worried about you. Like, are we going to be able to record today? How on earth are you going to be able to edit this? And you just come back rip roaring excitement. So it's good to have you back. And yeah, I'm glad the family vacation went well.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a wonderful time. I'm sure I'll have some additional stories to share in future episodes, but it was a lot of fun.
And Jonathan, since this is a show about financial independence, like, tell us about the cost of a trip like this. I know from a past episode, you actually were able to use Chase Ultimate Rewards points to book your flights. So they were free, right? They were $0.
Yes. So we actually booked 3 tickets, one for myself, my wife, and my 6-month-old son. The tickets would have cost $1,800 a piece. My son would have flown free because he's a lap carry. But instead of that, we were actually able to use travel rewards points and book it for 128,000 points. So if you listen to one of our earlier episodes on travel rewards, that's episode 9. And you can listen to that if you want to go to the website. It's choosefi.com/009. That kind of walks you through the process on how to go about accumulating those points. But, you know, if you just follow that very simple process, it's extremely easy just to be able to use your travel rewards instead of points to book that trip. And then once we were there, we stayed with family and they wanted to spoil us and they were amazing, incredibly generous. So we essentially had a no spend, almost 2-week period of time. And we were in Cape Town, South Africa. We went to Plettenberg Bay. We're inside this home that's looking right out over the sea, and right out on the sea, there are hundreds of dolphins moving by this window all day long. Honestly, Brad, there were more dolphins in that water than there are squirrels in my neighborhood. I am not exaggerating. That is truth.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I'd love to see pictures of that. Maybe you can post it in the Facebook group.
Will do. So, I mean, what about you though, man? I mean, so I'm back now. I know you have a trip that you're planning using travel rewards as well. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So Laura and I have pretty much gamed out our next 2 big summer trips. So in a past episode with Brandon Pierce from Pierce on Earth, we talked about international family travel. And he said that him and his family dove into this with a roughly 6-week trip the first time. And that kind of lit this fire under us. And we decided, like, we're just going to do it. I know I had a bunch of excuses, Jonathan. You told me, but just do it, man. Right. And so Laura and I and the girls will be going to Europe next summer. So we've booked the flight for 2018. We're not doing anything terribly exotic, but we're basically going to take 24 days, I think it is, and travel through England and Scotland. We're going to visit Laura's sister and her family in London. Probably going to see actually Alan and Barney from our episode on Monday, which will be really cool. And then we're heading up to Edinburgh, where Brandon, the mad scientist, and his wife Jill live. So yeah, I mean, we're just going to have this nice, relaxing 3+ week trip to the UK, basically. And it's already booked. We used Chase Ultimate Rewards points. It wasn't the best redemption in the world, so it's not something that I'm like overly proud of. But that said, it was essentially free. So we saved at least $1,000+ a ticket. And that's not nothing, right? I mean, $4,000 is $4,000 saved. And we're able to accumulate a lot of points. So it was one of those things where I actually sat here and hemmed and hawed and had this conversation with Laura over, should we use points, should we not? And we just came to the conclusion that we have so many points and many of them are just sitting there at this juncture. Let's just use them. So those flights are booked. We are going to Europe in 2018. And then we're actually going to South America to visit my brother in August of 2019. So we're going to go to Santiago, Chile, and rent an Airbnb apartment for a month or 6 weeks and just kind of hang out and live that life there. So yeah, I mean, like we always say here at Choosify, it's about taking action. And I had a litany of excuses, right, Jonathan? I mean, like I sat here and you basically told me, hey, kind of put up or shut up, right?
Yeah, just do it, man. Just do it.
And so I did it. And it's booked for 2018 and it's on the books for 2019. As soon as those flights become available with points, we have a ton of United and American miles, and both those are pretty good options. So we'll book it as soon as it becomes available. So yeah, it's amazing how the world opens up to you when you have these points.
I love it. That's inspiring. So cool that you guys are going to be able to do that. And then the actual places you're going to get to go. Wow, that is awesome. And a couple quick tips for you, just because you're going to be traveling with minors internationally. Make sure you take either the birth certificate or just double check ahead of time that your destination country that you're going to. A lot of these countries overseas do require that you have either the original birth certificate for your children or a copy. So just, take just a quick tip there. Go check and make sure the destination country doesn't have any of those requirements. Also, if you're booking and you're doing it over the phone where you're having to talk to an agent. And I know in my case, I was talking with an agent over the phone because we had the lap carry. When you're redeeming lap carry rewards through the Ultimate Rewards portal, you actually have to call them. Make sure they get the spelling right on all of the names of the passengers. It's just human error. You have someone typing stuff in. Just make sure once they have it all booked, you triple confirm that they've typed everybody's name in correctly, because that's another way that you can just get hung up at the office. So hopefully, this is just things that Brad and I have encountered over time, and hopefully that helps save you some aggravation and frustration, and you have a wonderful travel experience. Please share it with us. If you use travel rewards to book a trip, let us know. I mean, this is something that we get very excited about. We like to talk about it on the show. We like to share it in the Facebook group. Just go to choosefi.com/Facebook. Let us know about your redemption. We'd love to hear what you actually did. And by the way, if you're using travel rewards, a very easy way to support this program is just to use our links whenever you sign up for a new card. Just go to choosefi.com/cards. It gives you access to all of the latest and the best sign-up bonuses on each individual card that are available on the internet. This is kept up to date year-round, so you're always going to get the best deal, and it's an easy way for you to support this show. All right, Brad, so let's go ahead and take a few minutes and talk about this past week's episode with Alan Donegan and the Escape Artist. And the place I wanted to start was actually the place that I finished the episode on Monday, and it was this simple phrase, the aggregation of marginal gains. And that simple line crystallized something for me that I had been thinking about for literally years, but I didn't have a way of saying it. I didn't have a simple way of expressing it. And it's just a powerful concept. And it's one that I find myself sharing with anybody that will listen as almost a gateway to this topic. It's extraordinarily powerful.
Yeah, Jonathan, this aggregation of marginal gains, it's a mouthful, obviously. That's not something that just rolls off the tongue, but I think it might be the most important concept that we've come across yet in 70 episodes. I really legitimately believe that, because I know Laura, my wife, and I, we sit back and we talk about, like, how did we get to 5? Because we don't think that we live that differently from anyone else. Like, how is it conceivable that everyone else is living paycheck to paycheck, but yet we are saving 50 to 75% of our money, depending on the year? How is that possible? And I think after having this crystallized with Barney's article, which is linked to in the show notes, called The Aggregation of Marginal Gains. Like, once I sat back and reflected on it, I really do think it's all these little decisions. And I've talked about this along the way in many of our podcasts. So this is not a completely foreign concept. Like I've said, it's about making these little life choices that compound over time. It's not just money that compounds. In this case, it's these life decisions. It's these life hacks, if you will, that when you start adding one a week or a couple a week, whatever it is, like you start getting 50, 100, 150 of these new things that you're just more efficient about. You are saving money with, you're smarter about. These things add up over years and decades to getting you on this path to FI and getting you a much happier, simplified, and more efficient life. We are constantly looking for ways just to make anything better, even just as simple as, like, this is so stupid that it sounds silly that I'm saying it, but like Laura was at Walmart yesterday and she loves the baguettes that they have there. And they're normally like 89 cents or something. They're extraordinarily cheap. We usually chop them up into quarters. Okay, and freeze them. And then when we have soup over the next couple of months, we take out a quarter and we split it, right? So we're having an eighth of this for, 10 cents per serving, basically. Well, yesterday it was on sale because the due date was coming in the next day or so. It was, not perfectly fresh, and it was 31 cents. So Laura bought a couple of them and cut each of them into quarters, and that just made it a third of the normal price. And it's like, it's so silly because obviously in the grand scheme of things, we have a lot of money. Saving 60 cents on a baguette is not going to make the difference, but it's that mindset. It's, as Barney said, it's changing the operating system. He wrote, quote, "If we want to get to FI, we need to replace that default setting with a new operating system that is based on what is optimal given my FI objective. Is this spending really necessary? How can I use my creativity instead of paying money to solve problems? What will challenge and strengthen me?" And, he had all these other things that he goes on to say. And it's these little things. How do you just make your life better? One little life hack at a time. And that is truly the aggregation of marginal gains. It's finding these things to be 1% better, just like the British Tour de France team bringing their pillows, right? Like you think, hey, I'm going to a luxury hotel. The pillows are great there. Well, I don't know about you, but I go to a hotel and sometimes I'm not comfortable, even if it's a expensive pillow. Having my own pillow would help me sleep better at night. Like that was one of these little items, and it helped the British Tour de France team win the tour in 3 years when people thought it was laughable. And I mean, that is just amazing when you think about it. And this is the path to FI. It's these little things. Of course, it's the big things. It's not buying new cars. It's not buying expensive houses. It's not going out to dinner all the time, right? That's the obvious stuff. But at the margin, it's getting these little gains that you can just keep finding in your life. And that's why I challenge people every single week in our Facebook group. What was the one thing you took action on this week? Because I think that taking action is the most important thing you can do. And often it can be something little because it turns into something big over years and decades.
I love it, man. And I love that because this Friday roundup is dedicated to community, right? I mean, on Monday, we usually talk about a new concept or idea, but on Friday, we're just living this out. I'm sharing my experiences with you, Brad, but on the other half of that, our audience is giving us their ideas, their challenges, their struggles, what they're working on, how they're growing, and where they're taking action. And just the fact that they're willing to share just as much information with us and be just as vulnerable with us as we are with them, that's powerful. We challenge each other. And I think what we're going to see going into the future, going into 2018 and beyond, is that we're going to continue to think of these little ways that we can improve every single aspect of our life by 1%, by 2%, and maybe these different areas that we can even have this radical transformation. And the aggregation of all of those unique and what you may have considered siloed aspects of our life are, in Barney's words, seriously non-trivial, man.
That's great.
I've been wanting to say that all week. So guys, actually I wanted to take just a second and highlight something. It came to my attention. And when I say it came to my attention, I mean, I bolted out of my chair, spilling my coffee. I was so excited when I saw it that Rockstar Finance published an article featuring the most popular personal finance podcast in the country. And they actually sent out this survey to all of the bloggers in their directory, in their email list. They got 140 responses, and we are voted the #1 overall personal finance podcast. And I just wanted to say to our community, this is probably, Rockstar Finance is an amazing resource, and they have a directory that is attached to it. Not only do they feature the best content on a weekly basis of different articles that are being published by different bloggers, so it acts as this amazing curation website, but they also have a directory that features all of the different blogs that are known to be out there that talk about this information that we obviously are so passionate about. So this was a real honor. And it's something that just, first of all, we're very grateful to have even been included in that. And just the fact that we were featured as the #1 personal finance podcast, just wow. So thank you to all the bloggers that wrote in those kind words about us. And thank you to Jay Money and the team over at Rockstar for just putting this article together. It really made my week. I can tell you that for sure. And Brad's as well. But the other comment that I wanted to make, Brad, is there were a few comments down at the bottom of this article that just cracked me up. And one was from Jason at Winning Personal Finance. And he says, the Choose FI podcast is a must listen. They cover topics all over the spectrum and make it fun to listen. Trust me, it's hard to make tax optimization and index fund investing sound fun. These guys do it. My only complaint about this podcast is when they talk about fasting. I'm chasing FI so that I can put food on the table forever, not so I starve myself. No thanks, I want to eat. And Jason, I just wanted to first of all say I love the comment and I can totally appreciate that. I wanted to actually take a second. I wanted to tie it back to what we were just talking about this aggregation of marginal gains. And I think that's kind of losing sight of the forest for the trees. When I talk about fasting, it is not to starve myself. I mean, that I get no satisfaction from going hungry. I think there are some benefits that are worth discussing. And actually, Brad, I think it would be worth doing to go get some experts in the nutrition space to come in and talk to us about some of this biofeedback that your body actually benefits from when you start incorporating fasting into your life. I mean, obviously, it's not a stretch to imagine that it improves body composition and fitness. But on top of that, I mean, personally, I have seen that it promotes greater satiety. So just generally, after you've done a few fasts, you find that your body just requires less food, generally speaking, and that you feel full on less. So it's kind of a way of down regulating your appetite, which can be very beneficial. There's thought that it boosts your metabolism. It can support fat loss. There's some thoughts that it can encourage better insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular health. There's actually studies that have shown that it can actually help the body eliminate precancerous cells. I mean, and that's on top of lowering your blood pressure, lowering your blood sugar. I don't think it's a coincidence that almost every organized religion in the world incorporates some sort of fasting into their teachings. And I think there's probably something to be said for the fact that you don't know what you don't know until you do, and it might be worth exploring. And without knowing all of the results, I just wanted to try it. So I'm pretty sure it's something that I'm going to do again. So try not to hold it against us. I'm convinced that when you get tired of hearing about that, we'll still have something for you on the tax optimization side. But this is a show that's about life optimization. And I don't want to be the guy that just talks about tax optimization. I don't want to be the guy that's pigeonholed into one topic. I want to be the guy that when I read something that literally I can feel the tingles going down my spine because I'm so excited because I uncovered this idea that just added something to the puzzle. I want to talk about that. And that can lead you all over the map. But at the end of the day, the thing that ties it back to financial independence is that it's the aggregation of marginal gains. Brad, let's just talk just for a second about community. Now, the perception in the UK is that this movement is very fragmented. There's no clear voice. There's no central place that is gathering the people that are interested in financial independence in the UK. And the community really hasn't come together around this idea yet. I think that's changing. I really do. There's over 30 people in our own Choose FI Facebook group out of the UK. Most of those people were engaged on a thread, just providing feedback on this episode and what they liked about it. And also there, you can already see the mind starting to work through this idea of, would it be possible? Are there enough of us to start forming a local group out of the UK? I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen very quickly. I think we're going to probably see it honestly within the next couple weeks. And it'll start to be this central place that realize the value of this aggregation of marginal gains, that realize the value of this slightly more optimized path can come together. I know Alan Donegan has been promoting this idea for years, and really has struggled to find that local community. And I know that he is someone that would be passionate about this cause. I think there are enough influencers that working together, you're going to see this start to happen. And we're already seeing it not just in the UK, but also in other countries. Canada is starting to get a very vibrant movement. We're seeing some serious traction in Australia. I couldn't believe how many people were at FinCon from Australia. Really blew my mind that this movement was already that global. And I think you're going to continue to see the FI movement spread, not just within the United States, but really increasingly overseas. And it's very rewarding to see that happen live.
Yeah, Jonathan, it's incredible to see it grow internationally. And of course, we're going to do everything we possibly can to help facilitate that, certainly from the Choose FI end. And I think also, especially Jonathan, you and I did a lot of brainstorming at FinCon. That was actually one of the best parts, is just you and I sitting there for hours, just kind of chatting and talking about the future of the FI community, about Choose FI. And I think we both hit on the fact that these local groups just mean a lot to us. And we think it's so essential for the community to grow. And that's going to be a huge focus of ours going forward. And we've kind of screwed up on this, frankly, in the past. And we've floated this a couple times a few months ago where I said I was looking for meetup leaders. And then we talked about a Slack channel. And one of the beauties of this whole community in general is that you guys are there helping us, right? So like we talked about the Slack channel and we got this incredible feedback that, guys, that's probably not the greatest idea. And we certainly took that feedback and really appreciated it. And we took it to heart and we said, all right, that's not the path forward. But what has seemed to work, and this was not our doing actually, is that local Facebook groups are popping up. So I know Choose FI San Diego already has 100 members. and they've already had 2 local meetups. It seems like they're meeting multiple times a month now. I mean, Jonathan, we both live in Richmond, Virginia, and our own meetup group isn't that vibrant. And that's our own fault, frankly. Like, we didn't take the reins and make it a regular thing. But now these folks out in San Diego have emboldened me to get started with our own Richmond group and make it more vibrant. I started a Choosify Richmond, Virginia subgroup just 2 days ago. And I think we have 30 some odd members in it already. And now we're starting to see a bunch of these pop up. I think this is the way forward. We have well over 5,000 people in our main Facebook group. And if we can get dozens of these local city groups to form, like, then people have this community, this backbone to rely on a regular basis. And I know there are avenues where not only do I want to get together with people, but I want to ask someone, hey, what's the best contractor to get my house painted? Or where do you take your car in to the shop? I can ask these people in the Richmond Facebook group now, which is wonderful. Like, I'm not going to realistically send an email to 30 people, but you can just shoot off a little note in Facebook and people can get back to you. And like, that's also part of the power of these groups. So I just see this truly being the future of the FI movement.
Man, I mean, of all the ideas that we talked about at FinCon, that had to be one of the biggest. And Brad, we're kind of in this unique situation that we can facilitate those groups. We can hopefully help connect the groups to each other because they benefit from being able to have dialogue between groups, understanding what's working, what's not working, what makes for a better group, what makes for a better experience, what sort of features can each group have that can really add value to the local community. I certainly am learning from the San Diego group because they are crushing it. I mean, just absolutely crushing it. But Brad, our podcast is reaching anywhere from 50,000 to 100,000 people at this point. And that provides a very real opportunity to add a backbone to those groups, to add a funnel. So people, if you want to find a group, a local group, you want to find a local community, and this is going to be your third place. This is going to be your tribe in your local region, and you just haven't really found a group of people that you feel like you can connect to. We can continue to facilitate that. We have over 10,000 people on our email list, and we can send them the option to find a local group that serves them. And so I just think as this continues to grow, the fact that we're here on a twice-a-week basis, we can continue to talk about what's working, what new group is forming, what new states you're seeing a lot of activity in. And honestly, when the FI community just gets just even slightly more organized to where there's a little bit more consistency across the board, this message becomes much more powerful and much more difficult for people to ignore, which honestly makes the world a better place.
All right, so Jonathan set up a short link that you can see all the current Facebook groups that exist. So it's choosefi.com/local. So if you just head to choosefi.com/local, you'll head over to the page on Facebook that has a list of all the existing groups. But what we really want you to do is to comment below and tell us what city you're in. And we will form one of those groups. And if you want to be the admin of that group, if you want to be the leader, just let us know. That would be a huge help to us. We can't facilitate 50, 100 groups, obviously, but we can set these up for you. Jonathan has a neat little cover art that he'll create for your city, and it's just kind of a fun thing. So we'll set everything up. If you just let us know, we can make you the admin in that group, and that's the way to get it started. If you want that community in your local area, just head over to choosefi.com/local and let us know, and we'll make it happen.
And guys, I mean, the possibilities, right? I mean, this is one of those things that the group is awesome because you're in it. And just be creative with what sort of services a group like this can offer. I'm thinking just right out the gate, this would lend itself perfectly to doing some sort of tool share or tool co-op. I mean, how many people really need a leaf blower, right? Shared resources, recommended service providers, frugal analog, specific activities that are in your own local community. A board game group, that one's very selfish and it's more just for me. Not everybody likes board games. I will grant you that. But if you do like board games and you want to join the Choosify Richmond, Virginia group, just let me know. And I would love to have you tagged for something in the future. Local events and meetups. I mean, this is just these are the sorts of things. We don't need to be perfectly sophisticated with this out the gate. We just need to have enthusiasm for this idea and support it. And it will grow organically. And we're just going to be here along the way. So very excited that you're joining us, that you're wanting to be a part of this. It's going to be a lot of fun. 2018, Brad, I don't know. I think we've talked about how FI seems to be on this hockey stick trajectory. I think it's going to hit critical mass in 2018. It might be 2019, but I have a feeling 2018 is the year of FI.
Yeah, I hear you. I think really the Playing with Fire documentary is going to be huge for our community. And it would be fantastic if we, as the Choose FI and the larger FI community, can just get this infrastructure set for this influx of people, right? Like that's why we want to set up this entire network of these local groups. So that's a big factor of how that'll help, right? You have all these people who are going to be introduced to this for the first time and meeting people in real life who are modeling this behavior and modeling this lifestyle. And it's not weird, right? We all know that. Like none of us are living these horrible lives of deprivation. We're just living smarter, more optimized, and hopefully happier lives. And when you can model that for people and people see that, oh, it's not that hard to pursue FI, that really resonates with people. So I think these local meetup groups really are essential. And like Jonathan said, like FI is onto something. It seems that people are hearing about this, maybe through us, maybe through Mr. Money Mustache or any of the hundreds upon hundreds of blogs. And like people are understanding, like it's not all about consumption. It's about living a better life. So I agree, Jonathan, with you completely that FI is on the verge of something. And we're happy that we can help facilitate that community. And it really is a special thing for us.
Well, while I'm dreaming, let me go ahead and share one more big idea with you. It's one that has been kind of like simmering for a while now. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and put some words underneath it. And so Cody reached out to us I would say almost a month ago, talking about this idea of, FinCon is amazing, but wouldn't it be cool if there was something that really just catered to the FI community specifically? Because there are so many of us now, we're so passionate, and it's not just the influencers and the bloggers, but it's their own respective communities. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a way of connecting those different groups together in one place? And, Stephen, who we've talked about many times, the organizer of Camp FI, actually has planned 6 events next year all over the country. One of them, the most recent one that we've talked about, is going to be Camp FI Mid-Atlantic. That's going to be here in Virginia, and he's completely sold that one out. There's also one planned for the Midwest. I think there's going to be one on the West Coast as well. I mean, we're seeing it spread all over the U.S., but it also strikes me that Chautauqua happens every year as well. And that's almost an international presence. And the one thing that both of those have in common is that they cater to relatively small groups of people. I mean, somewhere between 30 to 60 people are all that are able to attend that. And the amazing thing about that is the intimacy, the chance that you get to spend so much time one-on-one with those individual people. But the downside of that is that then you're obviously excluding masses of people that would like to be able to participate. And honestly, this is me personally giving a shout out to PT for just the amazing work that he's done at FinCon. I went to my first FinCon this year, and I can tell you that I don't think I will ever miss a FinCon from here on out. If you are a blogger, if you are a podcaster, if you are doing anything in personal finance, to me, I think it's probably crazy to not go to FinCon. It's just an absolutely amazing event. But I think there is room for something like this, a larger scale event that brings all of these separate communities within the FI niche together. And I was thinking, Brad, how do you feel about the idea of having a FI festival? Something that was large scale, maybe catered to 200 to 1,000 people, depending on the level of interest. And it would probably grow based on word of mouth year after year. But something that brought in all these different influencers and their respective communities together in one place for maybe 4 or 5 days, just to share ideas.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. I'm as you're describing that to me, I'm picturing not just personal finance, but like we're always talking about, life hacks, life optimization. Like that can be a pretty wide-ranging festival. Like this is the first time you're telling me about this, frankly. So like I'm hearing it brand new with the audience. So I haven't had much time to consider this, but I mean, it sounds fantastic. I know the energy that I get from FinCon is not about it actually being a financial bloggers conference. It has to do with seeing other people from the FI community together in one spot. That's why I love Camp FI and Camp Mustache that I went to before that. And that's what these events are all about. So yeah, I mean, if we could get an event that we had hundreds of people from the FI community, like, yeah, I mean, that would be absolutely awesome. I'm not sure how to get from here to there, but maybe we can get Steven from Camp FI on board and make this a reality. That would be really, really cool.
I think he would go for it. So yeah, I'm going to reach out to him and see if he'd be interested. I'm sure he has his hands full currently with the Camp FI, but I think that he has started to build a reputation as someone that just cares deeply about community and is willing to put the time in almost at a selfless level. And he's someone that would be a natural fit to organize this. I would not do a good job at organizing this. I would support this in every single way possible. I would go out of my way to market it and make sure that people are aware of how to get involved. I would participate in it every single year. But I think that Steven would do just a much better job at bringing something like this together. And Brad, if we were actually able to get some traction on this, I have an idea to even upgrade it even further. You want to hear it?
Of course I want to hear it. Go for it.
All right. Do you remember a while back on the show when we were talking about the Mount Rushmore of FI?
Yeah, of course.
All right. We never really settled on that. Somehow we decided that there had to be 5 heads on the Mount Rushmore of FI, which is weird in and of itself because apparently, historically, and when you actually look at it, there's only 4 spots, but we decided on 5. But even those, we were having trouble filling those up, and we crowdsourced the feedback and we couldn't land on who the specific 5 people should be. And then the most amazing light bulb moment happened. And it was from someone in our community. We said we should do a Hall of FI. Instead of a Hall of Fame, a Hall of FI with an induction ceremony, the whole 9 yards, just really go all out. And we just do an award ceremony that highlights just the people that have been able to bring this community together year after year, have put the time in. Just do something to highlight that and to honor the time and effort that they've put into that and the impact that it's had on our respective lives. And so a Hall of FI could be a featured component of the FI Festival, and we could have a massive induction ceremony that first inaugural year.
Wow, that's cool. I like that a lot. So you could get the Mr. Money Mustache, Jim Collins, JD Roths of the world to show up to that very first year and make it a huge success. Yeah, that's a neat idea, Jonathan.
Awesome. Well, I will reach out to Steven and we will see if we can start laying the groundwork for that. But I think that is a very real possibility. And yeah, anyways, just spitballing here, just living it out in front of you guys, but just very excited about the possibilities when a community gets organized and decides that it wants to see this organic thing grow.
Yeah, Jonathan. And speaking of A, having things grow, and B, just kind of spitballing here and just telling everyone our thought process. My big aha moment at FinCon was actually about JD Roth, which is interesting. We spoke with him recently on the podcast, and you and I were trying to figure out like what makes a successful podcast or blog, and we've come to the conclusion it's the story. That's what people connect with. It's not here are the 27 things that can save you money next month type, list article. Those are valuable to some degree, I suppose, but that's not what gets people coming back to a podcast like ours or a blog like Get Rich Slowly back in the day when JD was at the helm, right? Like people come for the story. They come for that connection. And it got me thinking that there are so many people out there in our audience who would love to tell their stories. And they don't have the audience. They don't have the ability to do so. They don't have the technical know-how to start up a website and find an audience and put in all that time to make that happen. Well, what I came to the conclusion was, Jonathan, you and I know our strengths and weaknesses. And one of our weaknesses is we don't love to write articles. We both kind of joke about that behind the scenes. We love podcasting. I could do this all day, every day. But writing articles it's difficult. It's not the way that I like to express myself. But there are many people out there who are just brilliant writers, and that is their means of self-expression. And what if we could get people from various different aspects of the FI community, the FI journey, to tell their stories, but do it on the Choose FI website, not as just an errant guest post here or there, but as an actual contributor to Choose FI. So they would have a carved out spot of the Choose FI website just for them and their audience. So we're bringing our audience in. We're hopefully having 5 to 10 of these people from our community become what essentially are Choose FI bloggers. And it'll be like a rising tide lifts all boats type scenario where everybody's community feeds off of each other. If you have 10 bloggers, you have 9 other bloggers bringing in people to Choose FI to read content, and new people can come across your content. Like it's just such a wonderful, virtuous circle that I just am so passionate about this. Like I think this could be wonderful because each of us want to find that person we resonate with. I've been so struck with that when we get emails from a particular podcast episodes that we've done that's just, oh, I love that guest you had on. That was exactly like my life. And that episode out of the 70 you've had just really hit home with me. And now they've listened to the other 60 odd episodes, but yet it was just that one, with that one person they had a connection with. And that was just one of those light bulb moments for me that like people really are looking for that connection. So we could get someone who's 55 and just found FI and is taking steps to make it happen. Someone who's 18 and is looking to be that second generation FIer. We could have someone in a high cost of living area, someone in a low cost of living area, just anything, right? Like you can have these stories. So anyway, long story short here, we would love to find people who want to tell their story. So if that sounds like you, let us know. Just reach out to us at feedback@choosefi.com and tell us you want to write for Choose FI. Like that sounds like something you are passionate about and you could get behind. Again, not as just a random guest post, but it actually being your site. You can write as little or as much as you want, but we want you to be passionate about it. And yeah, I mean, that's just something, again, that Jonathan and I brainstormed at FinCon, and I think can be a real game changer for the Choose FI community, because it's not just this podcast. It's the podcast, it's the Facebook group, and now local groups, and it can be this incredible set of stories at the website.
I love it. I love it. So can I go ahead and make the big announcement now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, guys. So we went ahead and reached out and we found our first author. And many of you know him. You've listened to him twice on this podcast. He's maybe our very first repeat guest. And it's Joel from FI 180. And to go along with this announcement, I actually have a voicemail that I'm going to go ahead and play.
Hey, Brad and Jonathan. It's Joel from FI 180. I wanted to share some exciting news with everyone. I finally took the plunge and quit my job last week. Thursday was my very last day living the cubicle life. The timing wasn't perfect, and Alexis and I are actually still a few months away from FI, but I have time now to pursue more exciting opportunities that actually align with my passions. I've set up a post on my blog that has all the details from the story, and I hope I can keep you guys up to date on each new checkpoint that we cross along the way. From 401k and HSA rollovers we're planning to do, to actually setting up our Roth conversion ladder, I can kind of be the real-time case study for everyone preparing their own FI strategies. Well, if you can't tell, I'm super excited. Thank you both and the entire Choose FI community for your support. We'll talk again soon.
Joel, a huge congratulations. That is really incredible. And yeah, we're just so excited to have you as part of the Choose FI family and team here. We're just thrilled to have you as the first Choose FI writer. So it's incredibly exciting all around. And yeah, again, a really hearty congratulations.
Now, if you don't already know Joel's story, we had him in 2 episodes. I believe it was episode 24 and episode 32. One was his story along with his wife, Alexis, their basically transformation, how they radically transformed their finances and got themselves on this abbreviated path to FI. We brought him back and we featured fresh content that he'd just written about the milestones of FI. Honestly, it was a paradigm building episode that you just can't walk away from. And it's very encouraging because FI is in many cases a 10 to 15 year journey. And it's important to have a way to measure that and measure your progress along the way, because it's not just when you start and when you finish. There's a fairly lengthy segment between those two. And this just gave you this perfect way to track your progress. But aside from both of those two, particular segments, Joel has written just beautiful content over at fi180.com. And he just recently made a huge announcement that he is pulling the trigger on early retirement. So he has reached a level of financial independence and he is leaving the workforce. And we said, Joel, now that you finally have time to commit to this, your writing is amazing. It grabs people and it paints a picture with words that frankly is at a level that Brad and I just can't do. We would love to see you continue to tell the story, to show us how you replace fear with flexibility when making the choice of early retirement. And just please join us and continue to tell your story here at Choose FI. And he said yes. It's really going to be very cool to see where his story leads and who else is interested in pursuing a path like this and sharing their story as well. One of the things that you said earlier, and one of the things that we've seen over and over again, is that everybody's story doesn't relate with everybody. There's certain unique characteristics that you're looking for when you're trying to follow. That's why people have different audiences. If one particular message appealed to all of us, then the rest of us would be unnecessary, right? And so I think there is something so valuable to finding someone that has actually walked a mile in your shoes and then found a slightly smarter way of doing it that you can then learn from. So that's where this is going, and very excited. Joel, just wanted to publicly give you a shout out. Congratulations on exiting the workforce, and let you know how excited we are to have you on the team. All right, guys. So this was just my first week back. I literally got in at 6:30 this morning. So we thought the only way to really get this episode done for you was to kind of give you a quick wrap up of all the things that are going on right now and what's going to be going into the next several weeks and several months. So hopefully you enjoyed this catch up. We do have some really cool stuff coming your way. I'll just give you a quick preview. We have Freedom is Groovy coming on the show to share his story. We have an episode called The Fully Funded Lifestyle Change. It's a little bit of an homage to Slowly Sipping Coffee, but we've kind of adapted it to tell a very unique story. I'm very excited about that episode. Todd Tressiter's coming on the show to really assess the state of fire. And that episode has already been recorded. It's being edited now. And let me tell you, it is a powerful, powerful episode. So those are just 3 episodes coming up in the very near future. And I guess at the end of this year, we're also in the next several weeks, we are going to be featuring the episode that we recorded live at FinCon. That was only a 25-minute episode. I have a feeling if I dropped a 25-minute episode on you guys on a Monday, you might be a little bit disappointed. So we're going to add a little bit to the back end of that one just to kind of flesh it out and add a few more details. So we're still in the process of producing that one, but that one will be coming at the end of this year. And it's just been a wonderful year. I mean, just all the way around, it has been probably one of the most fulfilling years of my life. And that is entirely to the Choose FI community. You guys are what make this show possible. You're the reason that after a 20-hour flight, I did not go to sleep, but I went straight down here and recorded this for you guys. I'm so grateful to be here, to be able to have the opportunity to talk to you guys. I feel so privileged to have this platform, and just grateful for every minute that I have with you guys. So thank you to our community, and also thank you, Brad, just for everything that you bring to this. It's just been an amazing year all the way around.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is really the project of our lifetimes, and it's just been remarkable to see the growth this first year. And yeah, onward and upward from here for not only Choose FI, but most importantly for the FI community. And we're going to do everything we possibly can to make that happen. So yeah, that is our pledge to you, the audience, and to the entire FI community.
So Brad, I was at a travel shop in Joburg Airport coming back to Washington Dulles, and I almost bought you a souvenir. And then I visualized you and Molly going up to your attic, throwing stuff away. And I was like, no, I'm not going to get them some stuff. I'm just not going to do it.
That's good. My mom has learned as well. She used to bring us home souvenirs, and I would literally jokingly throw them out in front of her.
I just knew it.
But it is the thought that counts. So that's what I tell her, and that's what I'll tell you. So thank you for the thought. That is
I still got credit for it. That's amazing. Totally awesome. All right. All right, guys. Well, as you know, we like to finish every episode by doing a drawing for a copy of a book that we found useful. And we do 2 books. We do J.L. Collins' book, The Simple Path to Wealth, and Dominic Cortuccio's book, Design Your Future. I also have 2 copies of J.L. Collins' audiobook, which was just released this year, The Simple Path to Wealth. So if you're an Audible learner like I am, then that would be worth checking out as well. So anyways, if you want to enter that drawing, you want to win a copy of one of those books, it's very simple. All you have to do is just go to choosefi.com/iTunes. Just follow the instructions there and leave us a short written review, and then send us an email to feedback@choosefi.com, just letting us know that you left a review and what screen name you left it under. And then every week on the Friday roundup, we announce our winners, and we do 1 book for every 5 written reviews that we get. So Brad, how many winners do we have today?
All right, Jonathan, we have 2 winners today. And the first winner is Jane. And Jane said, I've become obsessed with Choose FI and learning everything I can about FIRE. It has sharpened my financial focus and given me a purpose for money that's been missing. I'm realizing that while, we've made some decent choices, we could be doing so much more to optimize our lives, reduce our expenses, and be more intentional about where our money goes. I take notes on every episode and have pages filled. But I particularly loved the episode with Scott Rickens, in which Jonathan said we spend our lives doing laundry and landscaping. Wow, that really hit home for me and gave me extra motivation to look at how we spend our time. Thanks for putting together such an interesting, informative, and enjoyable to listen to podcast.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I do feel that way sometimes, just totally just stuck on that repetitive cycle. So I'm glad that resonated with you. All right, Brad, who is our other winner today?
All right. Our second winner is Jessica.
And Jessica says, officially fired up. I absolutely love Jonathan and Brad's podcast. It's the only podcast I listen to religiously twice a week. The chemistry between the two is amazing, and their content empowers you to take actionable steps each week on the path to financial independence. Before discovering this podcast, I considered myself a spender. I'm now constantly inspired to change my mindset and strive toward a life of intentionality each and every day. Thank you both for the perfect entertainment on my commute and for truly lighting a fire under me. Wow, Jessica, that is absolutely amazing. And for those of you, if you want to do us just one solid favor today, if you want to do one thing just to help us out, you got benefit from this episode or you got benefit from Monday's episode, just take 1 second and press the subscribe button on the platform that you're listening to this on. It absolutely helps us out. It lets the algorithms know that you place value in the show and that you want to be there when we produce additional content. So thank you so much for being a part of this community, for everything you do. The fire is spreading, my friends. We'll see you next time as we continue to go down the road less traveled.
You've been listening to Choose FI Radio Podcast, where we help middle-class America build wealth, one life hack at a time.